Welcome back. Supreme Court confirmation hearings have become MRIs into the souls of our two political parties, and they're also apparently launching grounds for potential presidential campaigns. And as we mentioned, Republicans, still smarting over what they believe was the Democrats' unfair treatment of Brett Kavanaugh, tried to rattle Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson, especially with questions about her sentencing in a handful of child pornography cases. All of it prompted this response from Democrat Cory Booker.
Don't worry. God has got you. And how do I know that? Because you're here. And I know what it's taken for you to sit in that seat.
And Senator Booker joins me now. Senator, welcome back to Meet the Press.
Thank you. Thanks for having me again.
Look, I want to talk about the confirmation hearings, but I want to ask you first about the president's remarks yesterday. There apparently were an ad-lib remark about that Vladimir Putin just can't remain in power. It's actually a question I've asked many people on this show over the last month, which is, how does this end with Putin in power? So the president in many ways may be speaking what we're all thinking, but those remarks, should he have said them?
Well, look, I think the administration has made it clear that the goal of the United States is not regime change in Russia. It's defending the extraordinary people of Ukraine and helping them in their what I think is an existentially critical battle, not just for their country, but for free democracies around the world. So that's the focus right now, and I'm glad that not just the president and our government, but to see the American people rally to this cause. I think that that's what's important right now.
But let me ask you that other question. How does this end with Putin in power?
I don't know. I mean, obviously, me and my colleagues have been hard at work at this and sitting with a lot of administration personnel. And I've heard it from the Secretary of Defense to some of our top diplomatic leaders that this is a very hard ending to see for, in any way, for Putin to ultimately be, quote unquote, victorious in this. This is either going to be a short conflict, but we're already seeing the other awful potential for the Ukrainian people for this to drag on. But I don't see a real victory for him. His country is suffering extraordinarily. He is depleting critical resources from his own nation for this awful war. So I just don't see how this ends well for him.
Let me move to how you spent most of your week in the confirmation hearings for Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson. What did the American public learn this week?
I think that they saw an extraordinarily magnificent judge who showed what her temperament is, her grit, obviously her endurance of mind and body and soul. But I think they really got a chance, especially under a lot of Democratic questioning and some Republicans, of her mastery of the law and how she is more than qualified for this position.
You seem to leave out the sort of the circus-like stuff that the hearings turned into a little bit. And I guess that it does feel as if this process is broken. And every time we wonder, can these hearings get more partisan? You know, they get more partisan. And I'll see the finger pointing, this party started it, this party started it. Whatever it is, this system seems broken. What do we do?
Well, look, I'm not going to surrender to that conclusion in the sense of having gone through Amy Coney Barrett's nomination as well as Gorsuch's. I think there was a lot of frustration among Democrats clearly for what happened with Merrick Garland. I think that we've seen the sort of the legitimacy of the court really suffer, partly as a result of the tactics that we've seen going on in the Senate. But having gone through Amy Coney Barrett and Justice Gorsuch, I don't think that that's a simple conclusion. There were extraordinary realities in the Kavanaugh hearings that I think demanded for that to be as contentious as it was, and not just allowing it to go through without these extraordinary sort of realities coming to the fore and being investigated. So what we saw, though, this week was, to me, outrageous and beyond the pale, and very different than what I've witnessed in my short time in the Senate, seeing 3 different confirmation hearings. And I think that what some of my colleagues did was just sad, frankly. But again, you had a justice, there. You had a judge there that dealt with it in an extraordinary way and showed America who she is, despite that outrageousness of the questioning.
Considering that she's gone through confirmation hearings before that very committee, the only difference was the TV cameras. That's the only thing I can come up with.
I think you make one of the best points that pointed to the absurdity of it for me, which was she was already appointed to the D.C. Circuit Court, which many people call the second most powerful court in our land. And none of this came out. None of this behavior was evident. None of these questions, which I think, frankly, believe, given the endorsements of law enforcement, victims' rights groups, and others, really cast a shadow over the whole ridiculous line of questioning that many of my colleagues did. It's just outrageous that they didn't bring this up less than a year ago when she was going through a confirmation hearing. She's a bipartisan supported judge multiple times through the Senate, and I think people should keep that understanding clear.
The other issue involving the Supreme Court this week are these Ginni Thomas texts. There's a lot of calls that say that Justice Thomas needs to recuse himself. We saw what happened when former President Bill Clinton met then Attorney General Loretta Lynch on a tarmac. We had, at the time, the Justice Department was looking in at something Hillary Clinton. There were outrage on the right for recusal, and the Attorney General recused herself. Is this a similar situation? Should Justice Thomas follow the Loretta Lynch precedent?
I mean, let's go to the Kay Hagan precedent. She got onto the court, and year, I think it was 2010 to 2011, out of 70-some cases, she recused herself over 20 times. Right. Because not necessarily because she was conflicted, but because she understood that even the appearance of impropriety would delegitimize the court, and the court needs that legitimacy in this nation. So clearly Justice Thomas should have recused himself. That's not even at question here. And I think that we also have a thorough investigation to better understand exactly what has happened with the judge's wife.
Is there anything Congress can do, or is that a separation of powers issue?
I think that we have a lot of problems with separation of power issues, and I have a lot of frustrations with the Supreme Court as a whole that they have not taken better measures to police themselves. Right. There are ethics rules that they hold lower courts responsible for that they don't put upon themselves. And I think most of America doesn't understand that I could be a justice and I could give a paid speech in front of a group that has either a direct matter in front of the Supreme Court or has amicus briefs in front of the Supreme Court. There are a lot of ethics rules that they have not put upon themselves. They're just common sense and ultimately lead to a delegitimized court. And I think that they need to use this Thomas affair as an opportunity to change their ethics rules.
All right. Senator Cory Booker, Democrat from New Jersey. I think a lot of us would like to make sure everybody's wearing black robes, not red or blue robes. Anyway, Senator, thanks for coming on and sharing your perspective. Amen.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.